All right, so this is the review for the mid-unit assessment 3. Problem number 1 says, which equation has the same number of solutions as 5 times 5x minus 6 equals 3 times 8x plus 5 plus x. Now, we're looking for the number of solutions. So that's what we're going to highlight. So the first thing we need to do for number 1 is determine how many solutions you actually have. And to solve this problem, you actually need more space than the one provided in the test right now. For our purpose, I am going to just write it on the top part. So we have 5x minus 3 equals 3 times 8x plus 5 plus x. I'm going to draw a vertical line. I'm going to multiply 5 times 5x, and that gives me 25x. 5 times negative 6, and that's going to give me negative 30. On the other side, we have 3 times 8x, and that's going to give you 24x. 3 times 5, and that's going to give you 15. And that's all for the distributive property. And now we're going to add x. We're going to combine like terms. The left side stays the same, so we have 25x minus 30. Now the right side is going to give you 25x plus 15. We're going to subtract 25x from both sides. And we're going to subtract 25x because we're trying to cancel this 25x, and the inverse of 25x is negative 25x. Now, the only thing that we're going to do is cancel this side, but it actually cancels on the other side too. So we have negative 30 is equal to 15. Now, we know that negative 30 is not equal to 15. So that means that this equation has no solution. So our job is to find another equation in the 4 options that has no solution. So for the next part, the only thing that I'm going to be doing is trying to combine like terms and make it simpler. Make sure that you do all the work in your notebook. In this case, we don't have space, so I'm going to simplify. So we're going to multiply for A. 2/3 times 12, and I hope you can trust me on this one. 2/3 times 12x is going to give you 8x, and 2/3 times 9 is going to give you 6, and that is going to be equal to 4 times 2x, that gives you 8x, and 4 times 3 is going to give you 12. We're going to subtract 6. And when you subtract 6 right here, so we have 12 minus 6. I'm actually going to rewrite that, and I want to rewrite it as just 6. Going back to lesson number 14, we said, and let's put a note on the side, same slope and same y-intercept is going to give you infinitely many solutions. Okay, that is infinitely many solutions. Now, in this case, this is not going to be our option. We're looking for one that gives you no solution. Now, let's jump into B. We have 4 times 7x, and that's going to give you 28x. And 4 times 2, that's going to give you 8. Now, next one is going to be 2 times 9x. That's going to give you 18x. And 2 times negative 5 is going to give you negative 10. Now we're going to add the 10x. We're going to combine like terms on the right side. And I'm going to rewrite this as 28x plus 8 equals 28x minus 10. Now, as you can tell in this one, you have 28x and you also have 28x in both sides. So it's the same slope. Now look at the y-intercept. We have 8 as your y-intercept and negative 10. Whenever we have same slope but different, so different b or y-intercept, we have no solution. So we know that b is going to be no solution. So we're going to circle that one. That's our answer. In this case, it says which equation. So that means that there's only one equation that has no solution. So we don't have to do the work. Now, if B wasn't the case, then you have to check C and D. But we're done with this problem. Number 2 says the fuel economy of a car in miles per gallon (mpg) depends on the speed the car is traveling. Okay, so let's highlight the information that we need from that part. So we're going to be dealing with miles per gallon, and that's going to depend on the speed of the car. Now I continue saying, a car's fuel economy on the highway per X gallon of gas is represented by the equation y equals 34x. So in the highway, we have the equation. The car's fuel economy in the city is shown in the graph. So to figure out the economy in the city, we need to pay attention to the graph. The question is, does the car have better fuel economy on the highway or in the city? So we need to compare in the highway or in the city. The second question tells you how much better. When we're talking about better fuel economy, we're actually trying to figure out which equation or which graph is going to take you further with the amount of gas. In reality, you don't want to spend more gas when you're driving. You're trying to find the best way to get to a place using the least amount of gas possible, because you don't want to spend more money on gas. That's simple. So that's what we're looking for, better fuel economy. Now, what we need to do is compare the slopes. So on the highway, we're going to write highway on the highway, we have the equation y equals 34x. And keeping in mind that we have the equation y equals mx plus b, the only thing that we need to figure out is the slope. For this equation, we know that m is going to be equal to 34. Now, we need to find the slope of the graph. That way we can compare it. So for the city, we need to choose 2 points. I like choosing the origin because it's 0, 0. I don't have to do a lot of math. And then the following point in this case is going to be 2 on the x and 40 on the y. So I'm going to start by writing both points. So we have the point 0, 0. And then we have the point 2, 40. Now, what we're going to be doing is using the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, and those are coming from over here. So we are going to just label them on top. So this is going to be your x1, y1. This is your x2, y2. So your first number is going to be y2. This is y2. We're going to plug in 40. Your y1 is 0, so we're going to put minus 0. And then we're going to be paying attention to x2, which is right here. So that's going to be 2 minus 0, which gives you 40 over 2, which is 20. So your M for the city is 20. So again, you're looking for which one has a better fuel economy. So if you're driving on the freeway, you can actually drive 34 miles per 1 gallon. If you're driving in the city, you can only drive 20 miles for 1 gallon. So if you pretty much want to travel the same distance in the city, it's almost twice as much as driving with the gas in the freeway. So we know that the better option is the highway. And now they're asking you how much better. So the only thing that you need to do is subtract 34 minus 20, and that's going to give you 14. So that means that you can, I'm going to put right here, you can drive 14 miles more in the highway. For number 3, you need to solve the equation 1/3 x plus 7 equals 3 times x plus 2/3. Now, I know you guys don't quite enjoy fractions. That's okay. So there are different approaches that you can take to get rid of the fractions. So the first thing that we're going to do is rewrite it. So we have 1/3 x plus 7 equals 3 times x plus 2/3. I'm going to teach you how to solve this problem 2 different ways. In the test, you will have a fraction. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a vertical line to divide the right side from the left side. I want to distribute the 3 on the right side. The left side is going to stay the same. And you get 3x plus 3 times 2 over 3, the 3's will cancel, and now you're going to be left with 2. If you don't trust me, just you can multiply it in your notebook. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the term with the variable on the right side. So the inverse of 3x is going to be negative 3x. So I'm going to subtract negative 3x from both sides. This side will cancel, and you're left with 2. And then we have 7. And right now we have 1/3 minus 3. Now they don't have the same denominator, so I need to make sure that I multiply the right side by 3 to get the same denominator, and then I can subtract them. So now I'm going to get 1/3 minus 9 over 3, and that's going to give you negative 8 over 3. So we have negative 8 over 3 x plus 7. Now I want to box my variable. I want to highlight the terms next to the variable only. Okay? Now I want to subtract 7 from both sides. This one will cancel, and you're left with negative 8 over 3x is equal to negative 5. Now I need to again do the inverse. Doing the inverse of this one is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'm just going to divide both sides by negative 8 over 3. This one will cancel, and you have x is equal, and then just quick review from 6th and 7th grade. Whenever you have a division of a fraction, you're going to do the keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep the negative 5. We're going to change the division sign, and now we're going to flip the fraction. And that will give you positive 15 over 8. And that will be your answer. 15 over 8. Yes, you can simplify that, but I'm okay with 15 over 8. All right, another way to do this problem, I'm going to just draw a line so you see that there's 2 ways to solve the same problem. If you need more space, do it in your notebook. We're going to rewrite the problem. 1/3 x plus 7 equals 3 times 3x plus 2 over 3. Now I'm going to apply the distributive property just like the previous problem, and I get 1/3 x plus 7 equals 3x plus 2. Now we have a fraction here, and if you don't like that fraction, you can actually multiply everything by the denominator. In this case, our denominator is 3, so I need to multiply each term by 3. So the only thing I'm going to do is put parentheses and multiply everything by 3. When you multiply 1/3 times 3, the 1/3 will cancel and you're left with x. When you multiply 3 times 7, you will get 21. When you multiply 3 times 3x, you get 9x. When you multiply 3 times 2, you get 6. Now, what we're going to do is draw our vertical line like we always do. I need to get rid of this number, the 9x. So I'm going to do the inverse of 9x, which is negative 9x. I'm going to do it from both sides. This sides cancel, and now you have negative 8x plus 21 equals 6. Now, I'm going to box my variable. I'm going to highlight the number next to the variable. That means that I'm going to be getting rid of that number next to the variable. I'm going to do the inverse, so I'm going to subtract 21 from both sides. This one cancels, and you're left with negative 8x equals negative 15. I'm going to divide by negative 8 from both sides, and you get x equals, the negative signs will cancel out because 2 negatives will give you a positive. If not, you can ask Jimmy. And your answer is 15/8. It's exactly the same thing, but you don't have to deal with fractions. Number 4 says, Thomas wrote the beginning of the equation 4/5x minus 8 equals, and there's a blank box. For part A, it says, finish the equation till the equation will have no solution. Okay, so let's highlight that part. We want a no solution. Explain how you know that. This is coming straight from lesson 14. So for no solution, and we're going to make a quick note right here. I want to put it in red to make sure that you remember this. So no solution means same slope and different y-intercept. So we already have 4/5x minus 8 equals, and even though the box, it seems like it only fits one term, we actually don't care about the size of that box. You put anything you want. So for the left one, we already have that the slope is equal to 4/5. And the y-intercept is equal to negative 8. Now, using that note that I gave you, says the same slope. So we're going to write the same slope, so 4/5x. And you need to have a different y-intercept. That means you need to put any other number other than negative 8. So I'm just going to put positive 8. And to check your work, the only thing you need to do is solve the equation. So draw the vertical line. I'm going to subtract 4/5x from both sides. This cancels, negative 8 equals to 8, and that's not true, so that means no solution. If you do it like that, or you write the note, I'm okay with that explanation. That problem is worth 2 points, just by knowing that the same slope, and you need to have a different y-intercept. That's all you need. For part B, says, finish the equation so the equation will have infinite number of solutions. So that means that you need, I'm going to write the note in red, same slope and same y-intercept. It's that simple. If something has the same slope and it has the same y-intercept, it means that it's the same line. So that's why it's always going to be infinitely number of solutions, infinitely many solutions. So our equation is 4 over 5x minus 8 equals, we need the same slope, okay, so we're going to write 4 over 5x, and you need to have the same y-intercept, so we're going to write negative 8. And to prove it, let's draw the vertical line, subtract 4 over 5x from both sides. This one cancels, and you're left with negative 8 equals negative 8, which is true. We're done. For number 5, you need to look at the graph and determine whether the statement is true or false. Okay, the first statement says the slope between points A and D is the same as the slope between points A and F. So the only thing that we're going to be paying attention is the slope of A and D first, and the easier way to do just for this problem is just do right over run. So you're going up 2 units and then you're moving 4 units to the right. So the slope of AD is going to be 2 over 4, which is the same thing as saying 1/2. And now you need to figure out the slope of A to F. So A to F, you're going to move from A all the way to 7. So we know that 8F, our rise is going to be from 2 to 7. That is going to be 5. And now you're moving from 0 all the way to 10. So 5 over 10, and that's going to give you 1/2. So the slope of that part are the same. So we're going to put true. Now the next part says triangle ACF is not similar to triangle DEF. The only thing you need to pay attention is to the slope and the sides that they share. Now, let's see triangle ACF. So we have ACF is the whole triangle. So ACF is the whole triangle. And triangle DEF, so we have DEF. They're saying that they are not the same. Now, we know that the slope of D and F is also going to be 1/2, and the slope of A and F is going to be 1/2. It's a straight line, so it's going to have the same slope. Now, this line, they have it in common, so we know that that's going to be proportional. And this part is also going to be proportional to the bottom part. So if they are proportional, they're going to be similar triangles. That's simple. The triangles are similar, and the question is saying not similar. So that's going to be a false statement because the triangles in fact are similar. So this is false. The next one, it says the slope between points A and D. We already know that that slope is 1/2. And the next question, it says it's the same as the slope of point DE. So DE is this part. Now, from point D, this is not going up. This is just moving to the right. So the slope of the line from D to E is actually 0 because it's not going up. So this is going to be false as well. And the next part says triangle ABD is similar to triangle DEF. So we know that the slope of this part and the slope of this part is the same. The slope of this part, the slope of this part is the same. And this part is going to be proportional to this part. So this is going to be true. They are similar. Don't worry too much about this question. This question is only worth 1 point. Six is pretty easy, pretty straightforward. It says consider the graph shown. What are the y-intercept and the slope of the graph? Okay, the y-intercept again, and I'm going to put a little note right here where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, your y-axis is the vertical one. So the only thing that you're looking for is wherever it crosses, right here. So your y-intercept is just that number, 2. Now, to find the slope, you can either use rise over run or the slope formula. Okay? I am going to use the slope formula because it's more precise and you're never going to make mistakes if you use it right. So the first point is going to be 0, 2. Again, 0 on the x, but 2 on the y. And the next point, I'm actually going to choose this point just because I can see exactly where it crosses. So that's going to be 3, 4. So I'm going to write 3, 4. I'm going to label my points x1, y1, x2, y2. My slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to plug in the numbers. 4 minus 2 divided by 3 minus 0, and that gives you 2 divided by 3. That's your slope, 2 out of 3. And your explanation, how you know it, you use the slope formula. That's all you need. For part B, it tells you to write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line. That means that you need to write it in the form y equals mx plus b. Now, you already know the y-intercept. You already know the slope. The y-intercept is the variable b. The slope is our variable m. So the only thing you need to do is plug in those numbers. So you're going to get y equals 2 over 3x plus 2. And that's all you need. And we're done with part B. For part C says, write the slope-intercept form of an equation of the line that has the same y-intercept shown and goes through the point 4, 4. Okay? Now, if it has the same y-intercept, we're going to write the point 0, 2. That is the same y-intercept. And we're going to have the point 4, 4. The only thing you need to do is find the slope. We already know that we have y equals mx. In this case, our intercept is 2 because it has the same y-intercept. The only thing you need to do is find the slope. So, again, m equals 4 minus 2 divided by 4 minus 0. And that gives you 2 over 4, which is equal to 1/2. The only thing you need to do is plug in the new slope, and that is your answer. Different slope, but same y-intercept. Right? And that's how we're done with problem number 6. Number 7 says, Ali and Beth are at the grocery store. Ali buys a container of milk for $4 and 4.75 pounds of apples. Beth buys a box of cereal for $3 and 5.55 pounds of apples. If the girls spend the same amount, how much does 1 pound of apple cost? So for this problem, we're going to highlight that it's $4 and 4 pounds, okay? And the other one is $3 and 5.55 pounds. Now, the key here is that they tell you that they spend the same amount. We are trying to figure out how much 1 pound of apple costs. So we're going to set this up as $4, which is an amount given, plus 4.75 times the cost of 1 pound. And that should be equal to 3 plus 5.55 x. Now, the only thing we need to do is solve it like we did in class. We are going to get rid of the one on the right side. So, we need to do the inverse of 5.55x, and that's going to be negative 5.55x. And you need to do that to both sides. Now you get 4 minus 0.8x equals 3. I'm going to box our variable. That's the one that we are trying to leave by itself. We're trying to isolate it. So we're going to do the inverse of 4, which is negative 4. And now you get negative 0.8x equals to negative 1. When you divide both sides by 0.8, you're going to get that x is equal to 1.25. I'm not going to do the long division, but I expect you to show the work in your test. Number 8 says, Audrey takes a cycling class at the gym. The table shows a function of the distance Audrey rides if she cycles at a constant rate. So we need to highlight constant rate. So that means that there's going to be a slope. So we have our table. These are all the information we need. For part A, it says, use the information in the table to make a graph. So we need to make a graph. We also, it says representing the number of minutes So minutes is going to be in the horizontal axis, the x-axis. We need to number and label your axis. So what we're going to do is draw our axis. We know minutes is going to be in the horizontal one, so we know the distance will be in the vertical one. This is going to be your y, this is your x, and we're going to break everything down in the x-axis in increments of 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And the reason that we're doing that is because we see that the increments in the table are by 10. Now, next one, we're going to start with 2.5 and we're going to increase it by 2.5. So 5, 7.5, 10, and 12.5. Now the only thing we need to do is graph it. So we're going to graph our straight line. Okay, so it's supposed to look something like this. Try to keep it as straight as possible. For part B, it tells you to find the slope of the graph. And what does it mean in this situation? Now, to find the slope, the only thing we need to do is pay attention to the table. We just need to select 2 points. It's easier to choose the first 2 points. In this case, I want to choose the first point, and then I want to choose the third point. Now, let's write in our coordinates. So we have 10, 2.5, and we're going to have 30, 7.5. Now let's label it x1, y1, x2, y2, and we're going to put it in a slope form. So we have y2 minus y1, so y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. When we plug in our numbers, we're going to get 7.5 minus 2.5 and 30 minus 10. Okay, in the denominator, you're going to get 20. In the numerator, you're going to get 5. Once you simplify that, the greatest common factor between 5 and 20 is 5, so you get 1/4. So that means that the slope of the graph is 1/4. Now, we need to find the slope. Now we need to say what it means in this situation. So we're going to write, according to the slope, the y is on top, the x is in the bottom, and we know that the y is miles, x is minutes. So it takes her 4 minutes to cover 1 mile, and that's what we're going to write. Remember that your tests will have the same problems, just different numbers. It's going to be exactly the same concepts.